welcome to the Mayor's Weekly. Pleased to have you with us on this crisp winter morning, and I'm solo today, and we'll talk on a couple of things that are material of this city. The first is I want to talk a little bit about the tool that I use most in connection with my work here at the city, and I don't think I've ever talked about this, but what we have, and it's I can tell you the existence of what I'm going to talk about and the quality of this report that I'm going to talk about is pretty rare when you in a municipality of 14,000 people or smaller, and I'm not sure it's not rare when you ratchet on up the scale, but we generate our chief financial officer generates a financial report every month that details financial activities of this city in broad categories, expense and revenues. It's presented in a comparative format. Where were we at this time last year? What are our trends, expenses? What are we seeing in our revenues, and then the final piece of this document gives us a summary about how we're faring relative to the budget that we prepare and present to the council and they approve. But when you look at this report, and I've talked to people in other political arenas, and that's what gives me the sense that not a lot of people have the quality of the information we have. And we're very fortunate to have a certified public accountant as our chief financial officer, Kathy Shamliss. I have Kathy with me today, but she's off on vacation for a couple of days. But the quality of the report is top-notch. Kathy's narratives give a great explanation of trends, things that are happening, positive and negative. And so it's so important to have this information, and something that we live by when I was in the private sector. And I guess it's something, variation of this is used in the public sector. But having this information is one thing. Being able to use it is quite another. Having it, if you can't use it, it makes it worthless. And one of the things that I talked about when I was running for office is this, is you need to be able to do the work. Now you think about this operation, City of Jasper. We have a $26 million budget. We have 200 employees. Fairly sizable operation any way you slice it. You ride around Jasper and you won't see many operations that's larger than this operation. But if you can't understand the financial matters of the city, of the governmental body you're working for, then you can't adequately represent the people and do the kind of job that needs to be done. One of the first things that you see in this financial report is how is our revenue doing. And you have things that impact revenues, what we call extraordinary items that have to be factored out to bring everything to apples, oranges to oranges. And the financial report that I'm looking at is month-end December, which represented the first quarter in fiscal year 2021. Something I'm so pleased about is our revenues are up 4.96%. Last year was a tremendous year for us. Even with all the headwinds, it ended up being one of the best years that we've ever had in this city. But to come off of that kind of year and through the first quarter have our revenues grow by 4.96% is just absolutely awesome. Will that continue? I don't know. But if I do my job, and I follow this financial report, and I see things trending in the wrong direction, then it puts me in a position to begin to take corrective measures, do the things that need to be done. It may be cutting expenses, there may be a hole in the boat somewhere, or is there something wrong, or are we not collecting our revenues timely, that sort of thing. Now, talk about the key pieces of our revenue. We've talked about this in this forum numerous times. 60% of our revenue comes from sales tax, and through the first quarter we've received about $4.2 million in sales tax revenue. Again, that's up about 4.96%. Other pieces of revenue, privilege license, it's up 14%, but it's a smaller number. Privilege license through the first quarter amounted to $40,000. We get our ad valorem taxes at the end of December. Ad valorem taxes are collected in arrears, and we had a reappraisal across the county last year. But our ad valorem taxes up 3.92%. Personal property taxes. Again, this is not a big item, but it's up 9.2%. Really nice trend for that. I hope this is a good trend. I hope it's not because we're not doing our job as effectively as we should, and I don't think that's the case. But our fines are down by 33%. Gasoline taxes are off by about 11%. That's probably indicative of less travel with COVID. Tobacco taxes up 4%. Diesel fuel is up 9%. Alcohol, I can remember way back in my banking career when Jasper voted to go wet, legalize the sale of alcohol. In those days, nowhere around Jasper were there other municipalities that had legalized sales, and I know that our revenues from legalized sales in those days were generating over $1 million a year for this city. Of course, what's happened, the state legislature lowered the population threshold for wet-dry referendums, and now most all municipalities of any size have legalized sales. So that's taken some of that business and redistributed out to other municipalities, and it's been beneficial to them. But our budget for 2021 is set at $800,000. In 2020 we had revenues from alcohol of $838,000. So I would think it would be on target to do that well in 2021. You shift over to expenses and look at how things are moving, and what you see in different departments, whatever. Some of the expenditures are seasonal. You look at our Public Works Department, we probably spend $20,000 a year on herbicides, and that purchase will be made probably in the next month or so as we begin to take care of parks, roadsides, that sort of thing. So as you work and spend time here, you develop familiarity with those things, and you see how those can impact the numbers. But what I tell you is since we have been here, which is about 4 years and 3 months, I think with one exception, all of our departments have operated within budget. But again, if you stay on top of this information, then if you see negative trends, it puts you in a position to take corrective action. As I look at our change in our expenses, one of the biggest changes that we have is COVID driven. I'm not pleased about that because it's taking away services that are so important to a municipality, and our park and rec expenses are down by about 17%. That's driven not by efficiencies, by many of the programs that we would have in place if we didn't have COVID would cost the city money. I hope the day comes when I don't see that number down, because I like to see our young folks playing baseball, soccer, basketball, whatever, and hopefully that'll return soon. Public safety, providing police protection is a big budget item, and through the first quarter, that's down about 4%. City administration, our numbers are down by about 6%. So those are good trends. This report wraps up with something that we added just about 6, maybe 9 months ago. Is a summary of how every department in this city is tracking against the budget that's approved for fiscal year 2021. And what this document does is I can look at the fire department, and here's what it tells me about the fire department. It tells me the police department, public work, our fire department year to date has spent $578,000. They have a budget of $2.2 million, and that's 26% of their budget. Well, that's about right, because the first quarter is 25% of a fiscal year, so right on target. But again, we have a good history of our folks staying in budget. What we do, we'll call our folks in a couple of months for budget reviews to see if they see things that maybe have changed since they prepared their budget that might require more money, or the ways that we can be more efficient and reduce expenditure of their operation. But this is not a private document. As I said, the finances of this city, it's your city. You're entitled to it. Any of this information that you'd ever want to see, you let us know and we can put it in your hands. But it's a great tool. I wish more governmental entities had a tool that is of this quality and could be understood. I think it would improve the finances for a lot of folks in government if they had such. Second thing I want to talk about is you manage a business, this city, or whatever. You work for today, but you manage for the future. And part of managing the future in this city is our leadership team. I'm talking about our department heads in this city. Almost every one of them in the next 4 years will qualify either time or age or both for retirement. What we know, several of these folks have already told us that they will probably retire. We've been notified by our fire chief that he's retiring at the end of this month. The fire chief is hired by the council. I think they're working now to get a roster of names to interview and fill that slot. I'm working now on some things. Our city planner, our city engineer could very well retire this year. Our police chief's qualified for retirement. Our magistrate that heads up the city court has indicated that she may retire. Kathy Shamliss, our chief financial officer, 35 years, knows more about the operation of this city than anybody, and this, as the old saying, that nobody is irreplaceable, but she will leave big shoes to fill. Kathy and I have talked about her future, and with 35 years of service, that she's almost at the point that continuing to work, she works free, and that doesn't make sense. So if I do my job correctly, and as we work diligently to build a quality leadership team, because if we wait till we come right up to the edge and all these folks retire, the city ends up with a green leadership team, and that could penalize the city big time. I'm hoping that we can fill these slots timely with qualified people, let them get their feet on the ground, and then the city doesn't take a nosedive from a leadership perspective. Good people are hard to find, again, you don't know exactly when these people retire. I appreciate the information that's been shared with me. What I'm going to begin to lean on these folks for more specific information when they think they'll retire, so we can be proactive and identifying, recruiting, and put people in leadership positions, because without good leadership, you can't run the city. And I'm telling you, we've got some folks that in this city that have done a tremendous job. Some, if they were in the private sector, would get promoted immediately. The way government's configured, you can't do some of the things that I'd like to do. But we have a great leadership team. That's evidenced by, as I mentioned, talking about finances, staying in budget, buying into the things that we put in place, and building a stronger Jasper. So those are the things that stay on my mind all the time, because it's my job to work for you and do everything that I can that we have a top performing city, a city that operates efficiently, a city that we can all be proud of, a city that's will attract both industry and retail prospects. So I want to share that information with you. So glad to have you with me. Again, I point to our financial information. None of that's hidden. None of it's private. You're entitled to that. If you have an interest in that, call us. We'll give you a copy. Come see it. We'll see us. We'll sit down and talk with you about it. But if you're looking at this, I think that if you have an understanding of financial matters, you'll be favorably impressed. So thank you for being with us, and we'll look forward to being with you next week.